Hello,
Hello,
and welcome to another episode of.
Super Data Brothers Super Show.
That's right, I am Ryan.
And I am Eric.
And we are two real life brothers who work in the data and analytics industry. And we got a good one for you today, folks.
You know, Ryan, I'm so excited for today's episode because the topic is the features that enterprise BI tools must have, right? So there's lots of information, there's lots of tutorials for BI tools, but I'm an individual analyst focused, right? There are no tutorials, there are no like overviews of like, here's this BI tool for like actual enterprise use coming from actual enterprise practitioners and managers. It's all individual analyst focused. So I think this is a very interesting topic for us to talk about, especially leading into next week's show, which is the Apache Superset review and deep dive and live demo that I'm doing, because all these points that we talk about today, we are going to that's what the Superset review is going to use.
Yep, absolutely. So, you know, we occasionally do tool reviews on this channel, and we get asked about Apache Superset a lot. And so we're going to dive into it and show you the good and the bad of Apache Superset next week. But to set you up for that, we're going through the criteria that we're going to use to evaluate this. As Eric said, you know, there's lots of content out there if you're interested in, hey, what kind of, what can I learn as an analyst about BI tools? But the types of content that are designed to help you evaluate them, especially if you're a big company, there is a lot of it, but a lot of it's paid content, right? Like we've got, we've got David Pidsley from Gartner in the audience this evening. David's in the UK, so this evening. Thanks for being here, David. They do great research. We talk about it all the time on the show,
but it's capabilities report and that kind of stuff.
It ain't free, right? And nor should it be, because of the depth that they of the research that they go to. But here at the Super Data Brothers show, we have no standards or constraints, and so we can just do whatever. So we're going to be bringing that to you today. A couple topics we're going to cover first. The most important topic. This is a live show, folks. It's more fun for us. It's more fun for you if you get your comments and reactions and questions into the chat, like David has, and like Daniel has from Deutschland. Hello, Daniel. And like Tom has, regular Tom, and even Jerry Grogan, who I have worked with in the past. Long time. Great to see you. Great to see you too, Jerry. Thanks for joining us here today. Let us know your reaction and what we're talking about. Now, a couple other things we're going to get into first. What's on deck first for us here, Eric?
Well, first, I just, we've been on break for a while. I haven't had a chance to talk about AI stuff, and I like staying on top of AI stuff. And I used to have that segment where we talk about AI stuff. So I'm going to talk about some AI stuff. So OpenAI released their new ChatGPT model 01. They call it OpenAI 01 instead of ChatGPT 01. Don't know why. It uses chain of thought, which is basically like reprompting. Like, when you use ChatGPT, you ask it something, it comes back, then you reprompt it. Like chain of thought is LLM reprompting itself, right?
Yeah.
Plus it uses a bunch of other techniques, or so we think.
OpenAI won't release any info
about how it works. What's that?
It's like Inception. It's like,
yes, yeah. It's promptception, right?
Yeah.
That OpenAI won't release any information about how it works. And rumor is that they're banning people who try to jailbreak model to reveal information, but who knows? And the last point on that is it's very, very good, right? I create random scripts for this and that, and like in ChatGPT 4.0, like the output context is like a lot smaller, and its ability to think things through is a lot smaller, right? So it's really, really good. And we have a quick example of that. Don't want to take too much time. So I needed to create combine different PDFs, pages from different PDFs into a single PDF, right? Because there were different signatures in different places. I needed one document. Now you can do that with like paid Acrobat, and there are like random programs you can download. But I'm like, well, I can just use, there are Python libraries for this. We could use Python. So I asked it to do it. All I did was describe what I wanted, and then you're seeing the chain of thought right here. Now, my understanding, this is actually a censored chain of thought. They don't show you the actual chain of thought. This is like a summary. But like this is it reprompting itself, and then it just came out and gave me the full copy and paste your code, and then I got a working program. And then, I went back and forth a bit. I don't need images, remove the need for images. It does all this other stuff. But then you end up with this, which is just a PDF page combiner, right? Now the GUI is not great, right? It's kind of
Yeah,
confusing, but I
right.
was able to put it together. And
Yeah.
speaking of the GUI not being great, I told it that. I said, all the functionality is good. Thank you. Always thank your robots, right? Thank you. And all I did was ask it, rethink the GUI from a usability focused standpoint. Think about the flow of action, reorder and regroup the different elements of the GUI so the flow of actions is more natural and obvious to the end user. I didn't tell it what to change for anything. It thought for 27 seconds, right? So it reprompted itself again and again for 27 seconds. And at the end, got a way better GUI, right? So that's the interesting part. Is like before you would have to tell it what to do to some degree to do it. This time you tell it what you want. Now you tell it what you want, and then it thinks through it for 30 seconds, and you get a way better GUI that's way more usable. So that's just a quick ChatGPT 01 demo. You have to be paying for premium right now to be able to use it, but
That's pretty
it's really
wild.
good. It's like, and that's for a program. If you had I don't know, you had a project plan, you just send out a mass email, you could just put that in and be like, hey, here's my project plan. I need to send out a mass email to customers with this topic. It'll scan through everything, think about it for 30 seconds and spit out your first mass email. Like the ability for it to think and consider before just like lying to you, right? Now, if it wants to lie to you, it really means it, right?
Yeah.
If it lies to you, because OpenAI told it to.
It's gotten really good at lying to you.
Yeah, that's true. It thinks about it beforehand.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting. I've been playing around with O1 as well. Not for this sort of thing. Although I think about using it. Actually, I was talking with our director of product, and we have a community Slack at Good Data, and people provide all sorts of random product feedback in random places. And so we were kind of thinking about, can we get a program that will help us just recognize, collect, and provide, like, send us that feedback and summarize it and all sorts of stuff. And we haven't tried it yet, but I was over the weekend. Well, I'm going to a wedding this weekend, but some point soon, going to see if, can GPT-01 just do this for me? And it, I mean, look at, like, this is merging PDFs is such a pain in the butt.
Oh yeah.
And here you go. So now folks, where you can go to just ask for it.
Just ask for it. Just say, make a Python program, and then like it'll include like, I didn't show you the outputs, but it includes like full instructions. Like, here's how you use Python. Install this library, right?
Yeah.
And it gives you the full code just to copy and paste into like a text file and run as a Python script.
Yeah. And David's response to this is, Gartner predicts that by 2025, 40% of ABI platform users will have circumvented governance processes by sharing analytic content created from spreadsheets loaded into a Gen AI enabled chatbot. Is this heaven or hell? I think the answer is yes, right?
Yeah.
It's it depends on how you experience it. But I think you're right. I mean, people, well, they're already doing it, and imagine like the types of, I haven't tested it yet with GPT-01, but it'd be pretty interesting. Maybe we should do that live on a show. Is like, let's get a spreadsheet, let's load it into GPT-01, and let's see over the course of an hour what sort of BI tool we can build just by interacting with it.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Like what features can we get, right? A visualization builder, filters. Can we email it to a friend?
There are Python libraries for all of that stuff.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah. For all of it. Yep.
So yeah, I mean, this is definitely, because I work at a university. This is definitely a concern of like, well, because we FERPA, like Student Information Protection, like Act stuff. So it's like we have like a very like, do not upload any FERPA data to unapproved vendors, right? If we have a partnership with the vendor, like for like the MSU chat, you can upload FERPA data, but otherwise do not. Otherwise, that is a violation. Right?
Yeah, it's serious.
So like, that's industry predicted by 2020, 40% of ABI platform users will have circumvented governance processes. It's like, yeah, I mean, that's one of those things. It's like, that's going to happen. It's like, especially if it's like, if OpenAI's chatbot is really, really good, and like your official company one is using, I don't know, a 1-year-old connection to Gemini or something.
Right.
And then it's like, the temptation will be there. So I agree with this prediction that people will circumvent stuff. I guess the only solution is to like try to create policy around it and like make sure people know, like, if you do this, this is a violation, right?
Yeah.
And I guess provide a better alternative that is governed.
Right. I mean, you can try to block access to ChatGPT, and if you have your own internal model, then maybe you try that. But I mean, it's like people are going to do it's like water going around a stone in a river.
Yeah, that's true.
It finds a way. That's a great point, though, David. Thank you. Okay, so that's the GP. I actually think that might be an interesting segment, like that we could try. Is let's build a BI tool using GPT-01 and see how far we can
build a BI tool live.
Yeah. Awesome. So GPT-01, folks, it's powerful. Check it out if you're into that sort of thing. Up next, we have a special report from Big Data London. So I was at Big Data. I go to a lot of conferences. Let me throw that out there. If you go to conferences, there's a good chance you can meet me at a conference. And I went to Big Data London last week. I just want to give a little understanding to our audience and apologize. We were supposed to do a live stream from Big Data London, but the internet was so horrid that it was just not possible. And rather than make you suffer through us not being able to communicate with one another for an hour, we just canceled the show and figured I would give a report this week. So I'll try to keep it brief. This is a cool conference. Big Data London is a big conference. It has like a big conference feel, a big conference audience. The booths are big. Everything is like a big conference, except it's actually free. And I don't know how they pull this off with a conference this size. At Good Data, we sponsored it. It was fairly reasonably priced as far as conferences go. There's some things you can see, like they don't provide free food to attendees, for example. Whereas expensive conferences will provide you with free food, but they had food trucks and booths there. It was fine. There were a lot of vendors there and a lot of very interesting presentations. People who have been on our show before who were there. Joe Reese was there. Chris Tabb was there. We've got Darren Wood coming up on the show. He presented at Big Data London. I'm sure there were others that I'm just forgetting, but there was like really good presentations, good vendor presentations, but lots of presentations by thought leaders and authors and people like that in the industry. So I think it's a great conference to go to. Certainly if you're in the UK and the London area, it's a no-brainer to go to Big Data London, especially because it's free. But I mean, even as a conference to travel to, even to like go, choose to go to Big Data London from North America, I think it's actually one of the better ones as an attendee. When you look at the speaker lineup they draw, the vendors, if you're interested in BI vendors and you want to talk to BI vendors, we were all there, basically. So it was a really good conference. And also, it's just going to London's fun. So if you get a chance to go to London, I recommend going to London. What's the conference? Do you guys get to go to conferences at MSU? Can you like pick one?
Yeah, we can. But it's like you have to basically request it a year ahead of time. So it's a bit of a pain. People do go to conferences, but not as much, just because it's not like normally you hear about a conference maybe a couple months before it happens.
Yeah.
Like by then it's too late.
And it's too late.
It's too late. You need to request that a year ago.
You and I have totally opposite experiences. Like I hear about the conference 2 months ahead of time, and it's like, and by the way, you're going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear about it. It's like, oh no, we can't.
Yeah,
request for next year. That's what I hear.
Yep. All right, and then last thing, folks. In 2 weeks from today, we have an interview with Tian-Kai Feng to talk about his new book, Humanizing Data Strategy. This is an awesome book. I've started reading it. I haven't finished it yet. You'll get my full review on LinkedIn, actually, once I'm done. This book seems to be getting a decent amount of attention right now among data heads out there. And so we're really excited to talk to him about it. And if you're a regular of this show, I would suggest that you give the book a read. It's short. Okay. It's very pointed. Like we're talking here 106 pages in this thing. So, other authors we've had on, we had Zhamak Dehghani on in the past. The data mesh book is like 800 pages or something like that. worth reading, but long. You know, this is worth reading, but brief, right? And so I would check it out. I posted a link where you can get it on Amazon in the chat here on LinkedIn, and let me go ahead and post it on into Twitch and the YouTube as well. So there you go. But check it out if you're a regular of this show. What I would suggest is you read the book and show up to the interview having read it, and then we will be able to get your highly educated question directly to Tian Kai. Because as you know, on the Super Data Brothers show, if you ask a question, we ask the guest pretty much right away, as opposed to, you know, so if there's something you want to know, we're going to ask them. Right. So check out the book and come prepared to the show in 2 weeks. We're really excited to have him on. I love having authors on the show. Yeah. You know, they have stuff to say.
They've got stuff to say. They have so much stuff to say. They wrote a book.
Yeah, exactly. So that's in 2 weeks. Next week, of course, will be the review of Apache Superset, and I think that brings us to today's topic, which is features every BI tool must have. Now, to set the stage for this is Eric's list of features that every BI tool must have. So if you've never watched an episode of Super Data Brothers before today, welcome. Eric is the what's your title now?
The reporting services and data science manager at Michigan State University IT.
All right. So if MSU were to choose a new standard, say they were looking to choose a new BI tool to bring into the mix, who would probably be leading that project?
That would probably be me.
Okay, so that's Eric's qualifications to come up with this list. Is he manages an actual BI practice. He's in charge of BI tool selection and integration. What tools do you guys use today in your
right now we use there are three main tools we use. Two of them everyone is using. Tableau we're using because that's what people like using, and it's Tableau. Power BI we're using because it's free, free with our current Microsoft subscription stuff. And the third one we use is Cognos, the one that actually has the most of the enterprise features we need, right? The downside to Cognos is it's a bit of an older technology. So sometimes with older technology, it was built to run with Internet Explorer, so the interface isn't as good and that sort of stuff. Yeah. And like you run into 15-year-old bugs sometimes, right? But as far as the features that are built in, we use Cognos the most for that. But we right now we support all three. Maybe in the future we'll cut one of those out if cost becomes an issue. MSU did recently have consulting with who's that giant that giant consulting firm, McKinsey. MSU recently had consulting from McKinsey, so who knows, maybe our budget's going to get cut. But that's what they do.
That's usually a sign.
Yeah. So maybe we'll be cutting a BI tool, but those are the three we use right now.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. And so is it like, does your data team, what is the mix there? Like, which tools do you use for self-service versus which ones do you use for the centrally managed BI, or is it like all for both?
It's all for it's a pretty big hodgepodge right now because we onboard a department and they use Power BI and they have their own analysts, so they use Power BI, right? Right. If they don't, we maybe put them into Cognos, have them do some self-service in Cognos, self-service in Tableau. Tableau is basically all self-service, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and what kind of do you guys have like an enterprise data warehouse? What is the data source mix look like?
There's an EDW underlying everything, right?
Okay.
So everything connects to the EDW, right? Where there are all of our different systems load into EDW overnight, and all the reporting goes off of EDW.
Yep.
Right.
All right. Cool.
Or individual spreadsheets, depend if that's what the department does, because they have their own hierarchy and their own stacks, right?
Yep. And that's one of the challenges that you have to address with the BI tool is the different audiences, the mix of who wants to do what with it. One of the things that I really find is that, as we proceed over the decades now,
Mm-hmm.
Most people still just want to get an email or open a report that tells them the thing they need to know. They don't want to find it out themselves.
No.
And that may change with AI. But I think
I have a feeling even with AI chatbots, most people aren't going to want to have to type in questions.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
If they have questions, they'll want to be able to type them in. But if they just want to know what are our numbers and they want someone else to provide it to them, they just want the report.
Yeah.
Right. Be that a link to a dashboard or be that a PDF in an email, they just want to see the numbers that they can use in their next meeting in half an hour.
Yeah. Cool. So with that said, okay, we've got, these are Eric's criteria. Eric is the manager of data and analytics at Michigan State University. And now we're going to go through them. So we've bucketized them into categories.
Yep.
You want to flash them all on the screen here real quick? So here we have all of them. We'll go through them one at a time, hopefully, and talk about. I'm looking at how much time we have left in the show, and I'm like, whoa, there's a lot.
We've got up 40. Yeah, so we spent too much time talking about other stuff.
No, we got to get through them. So this is your list, Eric. You describe it.
Sure. So I separate it into 3 basic categories, right? And some of the individual lists in these categories, maybe they could move to a different category. It's not that important. But the 3 basic categories are enterprise BI features, which is your old school Cognos did this, business objects did this, whatever Oracle's BI tool is now probably does this.
Yeah.
I'm sure it does. That's the stuff that your administrators want to receive this PDF every Friday. This is the kind of stuff, right? And then, so that's the old school stuff. Then general BI and data features. I kind of separate that into, that's kind of okay, so there are good enterprise features, but how good are the actual BI stuff? You want to create a visualization, how good is it? You want to create a list, how good is it? Right? And there's different stuff around that. And again, I'm listed out here. And then the last one I separate into okay, so the tool's great. Section 1, section 2 has great enterprise features, tools great to use, but how hard community features, how hard is it to actually learn to use the tool, right? If you have a question, is there a community you can go out to and ask and someone will answer, or someone already asked 3 years ago, so you just Google it and get your answer, Is there, when ChatGPT was last trained, was there enough stuff on the internet that you can ask a question and get a decent answer? Right? Because for a lot of tools, the answer is probably no, right? Especially, I guess, especially if the tool is updating all the time, you get an updated answer. But if there's not that big of a community, if there aren't lots of posts on Reddit that OpenAI scanned, right, and then it's not going to be that you're not going to get an answer from ChatGPT. So what is the community? What is the user experience? Right. So that's kind of that one. And then I've listed out each individual item. And so next week I'm giving a deep dive and demo of Apache Superset. And so I am going to rate the tool on these different areas. Right. Mm-hmm. So if you want to see all these areas for Apache Superset, can it do this stuff that we're about to talk about? Tune in next week, because we will go through each of these areas of the tool. We only have an hour, so we're gonna have to move fast, go along, going over lots of stuff. But yeah, so that's kind of my breakdown of the different categories. Now, I think Ryan, maybe we just hop right into it, and start talking about enterprise BI features and kind of go bit by bit. Maybe explain. All right, Ryan. So you've been doing BI longer than I have.
Yep.
What is paginated reporting? Not pronounced paginated, which I did for years. Paginated reporting.
Wait, people don't still do this, do they?
Believe it or not, they do. It's not dead, and they really like it when they receive these.
It's really funny because half of our audience is old school BI people, and the other half is startup industry people. And the startup industry people, whenever we talk about this, are like, "What? What are you talking about? Nobody does this.
It's not a chatbot. It's not.
Yeah,
it's not natural language processing charts.
This, I will tell you, a good data. We get asked for this sort of stuff all the time. This is not a dead approach. So really, what this is this combined with the next couple features we're going to talk about. But this is the creation. So can I create something that looks like something that in a previous era you may have printed out and handed to someone,
Mm-hmm.
right? And these tend to be more number focused than visualization focused, although not always.
Yeah.
And it's, page 1, page 2, page 3. This also comes into place a lot of times when you're trying to generate documents for compliance purposes.
Yep.
You need to send a report to the government. You need to send a report to an auditor or something internal or a third party partner.
Yeah.
And it needs to look a certain way. And it needs to always look that certain way. And that certain way is not a beautiful dashboard or an infographic or something like an interaction with ChatGPT, right? It is a form, right?
Yep.
It needs to look like a form. That's really what this is.
And there are different levels of like feature that come with paginated reporting, because there are some BI tools that have paginated reporting, but it's just like, it's basically just a dashboard where you like put like here, this table's here, this table's here. But there are more levels of that, like stuff like generate a PDF where the top page is a summary, right? And then the second to however many pages it takes, it dynamically generates is like the detail table, right? So there's different levels of that, like to be able to have different categories and just have that be part of the report, right? So that's some of the details we're going to go into. We go into when we do reviews of tools.
Yep. All right. Next up on the list, bursting. This is tied to paginated reporting. What does this mean, Eric?
So bursting is right. So maybe if you're like in the modern BI stack, you just have your portal, right? And then like people log in and maybe you have some row level security on it, whatever. Bursting is the ability to take a base report, right? And then split it based on different sets of criteria and email that out to different people, right? So like bursting combined with paginated reporting is you have 4 directors, right? And you burst the report. So you split it on department code or whatever, and send it out as a paginated report. And each director only gets their individual data, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a way to create one report and then send it and have it apply to each individual person and their relevant data, and then send it out to them. That's kind of what bursting is.
Right. And again, if you're kind of a modern data stack aficionado, you work in tech companies, the expectation at your organization might be, no, everybody logs into some BI portal, or even better, the data team is embedding the content into some other place where people are doing their work. But either way, the expectation is that people are going to, that's how they're going to interact with it. They're data literate. They understand how to read visualizations, and they're motivated to go in and look at the metrics.
Yeah.
This describes a small part of the world.
Yes.
The rest of the world, especially when you get to director levels and VPs and people with C's in front of their name, they don't want to do that. They're not going to do that. They need to receive the information they need when they need it, either prepared by their data analyst who just gives it to them, or via an automated distribution. The other thing that this is really good at is when you have operational stuff that's tied into your business intelligence. And I think that's really a criminally underrated and underutilized thing, that many BI teams and data teams think of themselves as, we're for the decision makers, right? But the question becomes, after the decision maker makes a decision, what are you going to do using data to reinforce the decision, to tell the doers what to do and whether or not they're doing it appropriately, whether they're meeting their goals? You can actually use BI for that too. And many places don't. And this is the type of feature that will help you with that. If you need to mass distribute to 1,000 people in a warehouse floor what it is they're expected to do that morning.
Oh yeah.
You can do that with this feature.
Do it, right? And they don't have to log into anything. It's just part of their
right.
They receive the instruction on their tablet, right? Or managers. Every manager gets an employee report, and they just get it emailed to them. Like stuff that you operationally just need. And a portal is not going to get you that. Like a web portal is not going to get you that.
Asking everyone to log in and view the Tableau dashboard is not it. Okay, no. and then this is the these are like the 3 elf rings in the Lord of the Rings, right? They all work together. Scheduling and emailing. What is that?
Scheduling and emailing. Does it need much of a description? It's just the ability of the tool.
Not.
Yeah. So maybe like emailing is just emailing, right?
Now let me ask you this: when you think of scheduling and emailing, do you include in your mind, when you think of this feature, event-based or data condition-based alerts?
Yeah. I haven't really thought of that when I put this down, but that's true, right? I guess part of scheduling and emailing is like reactive scheduling, reactive emailing, right? Oh, that the data warehouse finished refreshing, right? Therefore, the system is going to run the report and send out the latest data, right?
Yeah.
I guess that's one of the features that's one of the next level features, because like scheduling and emailing at its most base level is setting up some, like, how easy is it for the tool to every Monday at 2 p.m. run this report and burst it on department code, email it to these people, right?
Yep.
At the most basic level, that's what this is.
Yep. Absolutely. And that's a classic example. You know, if you schedule your reports to go out at 8 a.m. and then the DW load, there's a hitch and it finishes at 8:25, congratulations, you just sent out yesterday's reports with today's timestamps.
Yep. Yep. So that's part of the, I think for the review, I'll probably do like 1 to 5 stars. Like if it does all that stuff, it's a 5-star. If it just
1
works,
to 5 cubes.
1 to 5 cubes. That's right.
That's right. That's what we measure on. 1 to 5 OLAP cubes. All right. Row level security. I think everybody knows what this is. So the question then, Eric, is like, aren't you supposed to do this in the database? Why do you need this in BI?
Well, because because it depends, because the tool, you need it in the tool itself, because how do people interact with the database? They interact with it through the tool, right? And a lot of times the tool has a single login to the database, right? So if you're not bursting out and sending, you need an interactive dashboard. You need the row level security like integrated into the tool at some level, so that when person goes in to see the data, they only see their own data. And like, because a lot of tools that's using a single login, right, for like a lot of times for security reasons, into the data warehouse, like you can't do the row level security, right? People who aren't going to be sending their own queries and have their own row level security in the database need to have it integrated into the tool.
Absolutely. And the idea that you would have row level security defined in the database is obviously good. You should have it. But in the real world, do you always have it in your database? The answer is no.
And the answer is, and if you don't have it in your database, you as a BI manager or practitioner often don't have the ability to add it.
Correct. Because that's someone else's department.
That's someone else's department. And like, you don't have unless you set up a 2-year project and get that project approved, that's not happening.
Yeah. And then, Daniel even adds some color to this by saying row level security in the DB is a pain.
Yeah.
It is. And when it exists in the DB, integrating it into BI is often a pain as well.
Yes. Some of the reasons we said, like a single logon, right? Your BI tool uses a single logon to get in.
Yeah.
And like, do you want to send in a different database connection credentials for every single user in your BI environment? No.
Right.
Like, you don't want to do that. Unless the tool somehow makes that really easy, but I don't probably.
And that kind of leads, it's this kind of tied to role or group-based content access and identity management integration. And so what I would say about this is one of those areas where, I think you categorized it under enterprise because big companies need it. And also because if you look at data startups, a lot of times they don't have this. They have no integration with Azure AD or LDAP, or what they basically are relying on the SaaS app method of identity management, which is email login.
Yeah, it's create an email account and log in.
Exactly.
Right? The big organizations, like, they use Active Directory, and everything is controlled through Active Directory or some other identity management system. And like, your tool needs to integrate with that, right? Because that's how they provision access to different tools. They use AD, and like, they get added to an AD group.
Exactly.
And then since they're added to that AD group, they now have access to these tools and these tables in the database.
And so, just to be really clear, what you're talking about here is not just integration with an identity management system to control getting into the BI tool.
No. No. The content itself, right? So like, both as far as like, depending on how the tool has it set up, what like data models they have, are, what model data they have access to, right? And also like, what reports and what folders they have access to. So like, if someone get added to the HR AD group, they get access to the BI tool, but they also only get access to the HR folders and not the HR restricted folders, because they don't have the HR restricted role.
Right.
This is stuff that's super important for enterprises that like startup tools don't even think about at all.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're just in a different world a lot of times, you know, like they have to reach a certain, like these smaller BI tools have to reach a certain level of maturity before they start getting these sorts of questions. And that's not a knock on these tools, but well, in a way it is. There's a lot of, at the startup level, there's a lot of startups selling to startups,
Yeah.
you know?
Get
And it's like
something
we all have venture money, so like your venture backers will send my venture backers some money, and then in exchange, I'll send you a BI tool.
Or we have the same venture backers. We have this little same venture backer ecosystem, but no one's actually selling any product.
You know, and at that level, it's viewed, things like Active Directory integration and role-based access controls to BI content are viewed as, hey, it's just going to slow us down.
Yeah. And maybe it probably will, right?
Sure.
You know,
well, that's its point.
Yeah.
the point is to slow people down when they're trying to get access to the payroll data.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The HR payroll data.
Right. And then we have finally in the enterprise category, ease of administering. So what do you mean by this?
I mean, a few things. I mean, how easy is it to get set up, right? Is it a local install? Is it a cloud environment? Do you have an option of a local install? Right. Mm-hmm. So like how easy is it to get it set up? Right. Is it like, and then also how easy is it to like administer it? By administer it, I mean like keep it up and running, do configuration changes, that sort of stuff. Like to administer this, do you need to hire 1 to 3 administrators, right? Or is it all cloud-based and you don't really need any administrators because you're just paying for cloud service, so you're paying for it that way? You know, if you do have administrators, how easy is it for like them to maintain the system? Like that sort of stuff. Like how many times is it going to like, there's going to be some misconfiguration and the system comes down?
Yep.
Like how hard is it to run this software?
Now, let me ask you a question. This is a obvious leading question. In fact, I don't even need to. Daniel asked it for me. It's almost like this was a plant, Daniel. It's unbelievable. For administering, I love the REST APIs.
Oh yeah.
So how does that factor into, like, do you want administrative APIs and SDKs does that factor into your thinking here?
Yeah, it does. It's not like it's a very, very good to have, right? Because I guess it depends on your level of maturity. Because just starting out, like you're not going to be doing a lot of this time. It depends on like if you're like software engineering focused organization, then maybe you will be using lots of REST APIs. And for next week's QuickSight, not QuickSight, I did that last time. Superset demo, like it is very much like you are a engineering focused like practitioner, but like I don't know, like so Cognos has some REST APIs. Most of it's an old school Java SDK. I don't know how many times it's been like, oh, like we want to do this custom thing, but it's in the Java. Oh, you can do it with the Java SDK with a bunch of really old documentation. And it's just like we are not doing that. If I could have some sort of Python send some Python script, send some to the REST API, that'd be so good.
Yeah.
Right. Instead of having to use a .bat to trigger. So it does play an ease of administering. Yeah. We were just doing that.
I know. I laugh because I've done it. Yeah. I mean, that's important. And, you know, in the Cognos example, I know they do have a REST API. When I was still very in the Cognos ecosystem, I spent a lot of time talking with IBM about what I needed in the REST API. And we have a couple good comments here. So first of all, Patrick Ebert, welcome to the show. Patrick, welcome back. He says, you want to do row-level security on the semantic context like a dimension. You know, the fact table in your database has no clue what a department in your organization is. If you secure the table holding that, you can't visualize an org chart just because Bob isn't allowed to see EMEA sales. So row level in the BI tool with the semantic layer solves that. Amen. You know, we are the semantic layer guys here. In fact, I can't remember the date, but we're going to have Juan Cicada on the show coming up, I think in October sometime. You know, Juan is a PhD in knowledge graph, which is the smart guy way of saying semantic layer. And so make sure you tune into that one, Patrick. And then we've got a couple other comments here. You know, Patrick, again, it's not good to have a REST API and SDK management. It's a must. If you can't script your admin, you cannot pass audits. We have a show plug for future show. We have a whole analytics as code show coming up where we're going to go deep on what does it mean? Why do you want it? My presentation at Big Data London, I didn't even, I'm talking about the conference. I didn't even say what I was doing there. I gave a presentation about analytics as code in conjunction with good data. And really, I would say you check it out when that presentation comes out. It is 94% about the concept of analytics as code and how to embrace it. And then it's 6% about good data and why we're great at it. So, even if you're not interested in learning about good data, but you should be, but even if you're not, check out the presentation because I really tried to make it valuable. It was a vendor presentation, but I tried to make it valuable independent of the fact that I do work at a BI vendor. And then we've got a friend of the show, Tom Wilczek here, time to pivot out of data governance, ... Okay. So we have a big list to get through still of features, right? So we're a third of the way through, folks.
And we've got 20, and we've used half of our talking time on the first third.
Yep. So now let's take a look at the general BI and data features. So these are tools that every tool should have. The first ones are targeted at enterprises. These next one are things that we feel, you feel a BI tool should have no matter what.
Hey,
whether
you feel
it's targeted.
it too? I went and said, does this look good? And you're like, yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, well, that's true. But I want to give credit where credit's due. This is Eric's brainchild.
Yes.
So let's dive in then. Visualizations and lists. I mean, this doesn't really need a huge introduction. You guys know what it is. But are there any finer points you want to highlight here? I think the one for me is a lot of list objects in modern BI tools are horrible. They're horrible. They're really powerful in Cognos and business objects, but in modern tools, they're just abysmal.
Yeah.
So
it was pretty decent in QuickSight too.
Yep.
Not as robust, but definitely you can tell what they were going for.
Yeah. So visualizations and lists. How many are there? What configurations, options do you have? Et cetera, et cetera. Next up, we've got the level of expertise needed to create reports and dashboards. So this is a very interesting and rapidly evolving area thanks to AI. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah. So like the level of expertise needed so this will tie in late because later we have like how good are the AI features actually, but like the level of expertise needed is like how cumbersome, just like not even without AI, how cumbersome is it at a base level to like actually create a report or dashboard, right? Are you writing like, are you editing basically HTML objects on a page and laying it out? Is it like how drag and drop is it? Like this is a very, I don't, in my mind, I don't really have like some of the other areas I have like concrete, like you need to have this, like level of expertise is like, if you get in there, you don't know nothing. How hard is it just to like create like a bar chart and a list and maybe like a filter? Right.
This is highly subjective, but it's like, what does it feel like? Does it feel good to use? Like, does it feel easy?
Like, is a new user going to come in and be like, okay, yeah, this makes sense. Like, I mean, one of the features is like, is stuff actually labeled or is it just icons?
Right.
If instead of just an icon, if it has the text, then it's like, okay, well, you can see like, oh, this is the filter button instead of being like, oh, I guess that's a filter icon.
Yep.
Right. Stuff like that, or like not overloading with options. It's just like, how easy is it to build something? Right. Intuitive. Yeah. How intuitive is it?
Right.
This is like a very like the way I rate this is like I go in, I try to learn the tool. How hard was it for me to do the stuff that I do in every tool?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Like, did I need to know how to write DAX to write DAX and MDX? So Power BI on a lot of these doesn't rate great because I have to learn how to write DAX instead of SQL, which everyone knows SQL. So like the level of expertise, like Power BI level of expertise to actually like make a good report is surprisingly high just because it's such a hodgepodge.
Yep.
Right.
Then we have, this might be the thing we talk about the most on this show. Mm-hmm. If you look back at the show archive, youtube.com/c/Super Data Brothers to catch the show archive. But this is this semantic layer and data modeling. So, if you watch the show regularly, you've heard us talk about this a ton, but this is the ability, I guess the way I would really sum this up is, can you disconnect the logic from the report itself so that the logic is reusable across reports? That's maybe like the absolute most basic definition of this. Now there's a lot more features you need, when you want to talk about a semantic layer in a data model. But fundamentally, that's kind of how I think about it, because this is a huge efficiency boost and governance boost, because you can define the calculation in one place and use it in 1,000 reports. And if you change it in that one place, it automatically changes in those 1,000 reports. That's kind of the core of the feature. But this is about how good first of all, does it have it? Many new tools don't. And then I would say it's also, correct me if I'm wrong, about, well, how good is it? Is it easy to do? What sort of features? Can it support more complex use cases? The brain buster is always, can I do a type 2 slowly changing dimension? Which, if you know what that means, congratulations, you're old. It's that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and a lot of tools will say they have a semantic layer, but it's not really. Like Apache Superset, I've been looking into it. They say they have a thin semantic layer. A thin semantic layer, what is that? And they describe adding calculations to columns. It's like, if that's the case, Excel has a semantic layer.
Yeah, right. A piece of paper has a semantic layer.
Semantic layer, because you can do calculations, right?
Right, exactly. Integration with other tools and the data stack. What does this mean to you?
What does it mean to me? To be honest, I just kind of put it on there and I haven't thought about it yet. What does it mean to you, Ryan?
Well, to me, it's a big, it has to do with, there's two ways to look at this. The like kind of easy level is, well, how many connectors does it have? Right? Out of the box.
Yeah.
That's base level. Advanced level is, can I build pipeline integrations and do embeddings and application integrations via things like REST API, Python SDK, Pandas libraries, React.js libraries? That is like, like on the Galaxy Brain meme, right? You go from like has Oracle connector to like, has React.js libraries. Is kind of how I would grade this one. So there's data source connections. That's the most basic thing a BI tool needs to be able to do. But then there's, can I take the metrics and use the metrics to drive a custom visualization built in HighCharts that I've embedded in our software? That is the Galaxy Brain level. And then completeness of vision. Shout out again to David Pidsley from Gartner. If you're still here, David, this is your guys' language. I think everybody in the industry uses it. But this is kind of, what are they trying to do with the tool? Like what is the goal, and how close are they to it?
Yeah. Like I would say, like, if you go back and look at my QuickSight overview, like I actually think like way I described it was built for purpose. Like, they are going for like these features, and they're and like this is a coherent set of tools towards like 85% of all the BI enterprise kind of BI reporting you'd want. Like, and it kind of had, and like they were built towards that. Compare that to Power BI. I use Power BI. I've created very nice reports with it, so I don't mean to smack talk Power BI too much, but Power BI is just like, it's just a hodgepodge of stuff. It's like, can you do paginate reporting? Well, yes, because they integrated the old SSRS as like, and they call it Power BI reporting instead of Power BI. But it's like, it's just this old tool. So it's like, does it have it? Yes. Can you schedule stuff out? Well, if you use Power Automate, it's like, yes. But it's like, this is just a whole hodgepodge of stuff. This isn't a coherent vision.
It doesn't hang together.
And I think I'm using sorry for using completeness of vision. I kind of did it without thinking about it.
Well,
but I think Gartner uses it differently. Like, than how I'm using it of like, okay, like how well did you build? Like, what are you going for here?
And how,
right?
what was the target and how close were you?
Yeah. How close were you? Right.
Yeah. And then we have, are the AI features they advertise actually any good? So is this a measurement of the gap between what you see on the website and what you see in the product?
Yes. 100%.
It's a huge gap right now.
Yeah. I have seen it like, it's in Cognos, it's in Power BI. Like, it's like, use the Copilot. First of all, Microsoft is calling every single AI thing it does Copilot, even if they're totally separate products. A little confusing. But like I had a Power BI dashboard and I asked like a question about the data. It's like, we cannot answer questions about this visualization type. It's like, you mean a list?
Right.
Or a table or matrix? Like, you can't ask questions about a list? Are you kidding me? Like, so it's like not that good. Like, is the natural language process and the NLP, the natural language processing, actually any good? Usually the
Yeah.
answer is no. Though LLMs has been getting a lot better. Or like GitLab. I use GitLab at work, and like I ask a question, and like it just like the request to OpenAI must have timed out because it's like could not return answer. So it's like, yeah, and say you have AI. Is it actually useful? Right? Can I actually ask questions of data and get thoughtful answers?
Yeah.
Like, what's the gap here? Right.
Right. Yeah. What is the scope of the AI? Like,
Yeah.
can I, if I ask, can I only ask questions on one dashboard, or can I
Yeah.
ask questions of the content as a whole? I mean,
And then like,
yeah.
if we're going deep, we could talk about like AI system governance, but like I'm not going.
BI
I'm
tools
like
are so far from that.
so far from that. We've in some of the like some of the vendors we've talked to and the stuff they showed off, and like they've had hints of that, but
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
the big boys on the block, no, not really.
I mean, we're I can only say so much about we're doing a good data, but we're looking at all that stuff too, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
one of the things that we're doing is we're asking ourselves, do we need to use an LLM for everything? So like for some things, and we'll be announcing more AI features this quarter.
Mhm.
But for some of the things that we do, we use an LLM integration. For other things, we're running a local small language model.
Oh yeah, just
And
like
then
trained for specific task.
Yes. And
Those
then
can be
for
really efficient.
that's why we're doing it, right?
Yeah.
And then the other thing is like we're asking ourselves, shouldn't this just be ML? And if it should
Yeah.
be old school ML, we're using old school ML, but we're hiding all that in the interface so that we're like choosing the right thing, and you don't
Mhm.
have to know or care.
Yeah. And Ryan, I can go a few minutes over if you can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can run a little over. I mean, we're close, right?
Yeah.
So the community / general features, this is like the halo around the tool, right?
Yes.
And not the tool itself. First of all, good documentation. Does the company itself provide the stuff you need to learn how to use the tool?
Yeah. Do they have good like training documents? They have good
Right.
explaining documents. Do they have good like read the docs? That's a website a lot of them like readthedocs.org. Like, is it well laid out? Like, can you actually read about stuff, or was this developed 17 years ago, and the last time there was anything was written about this is in a PDF that exists in some people's emails
Exactly.
from 13 years ago?
Exactly.
Or can you just go and learn?
We got a couple comments here real quick. Tom Wilsack, report bursting remains such an underrated feature. At my last company, we got so many requests for it from customers. Yes, we get it all the time. It is, it's one of those things, like it's not cool, but it's very, it's still critical. And then DC says, is ThoughtSpot quite good for AI for answering cues about data? I mean, yeah, ThoughtSpot, that's really ThoughtSpot's heritage. Like it predates the LLM era.
Yeah.
And
it's like the NLP. It was like the NLP king, right?
It was the NLP king. Yeah. Now the question is, when it comes to ThoughtSpot, do they have an insurmountable lead, or have LLMs? Are they in the process of commoditizing ThoughtSpot's feature set? And I would argue they probably are. But we'll see. But I think getting an experience in a BI tool that is very close to as good as what ThoughtSpot spent a decade developing has now become really easy.
Yeah, for other vendors.
Yes. Good learning resources. So maybe this is the stuff that is not provided by the vendor.
Yeah.
This is
YouTube videos.
Are there excellent YouTube channels that are full of incredible knowledge that broadcast every Thursday at 12 o'clock Eastern time that you could tune into to learn about?
Perhaps next week if you want to learn about Apache Superset.
Perhaps.
We'll be going through all of these items.
Yeah. How active is the subreddit?
Oh yeah.
It's that sort of thing, and that ties in too with strong user community. Yep. The strongest BI tool user community in history is obviously. What do you think? Which BI tool in history? Which BI tool of all BI tools ever made had the strongest user community? I think it's clear who it is.
Does Excel count?
No. I mean, it's
Is it
Excel.
Power BI?
No, it's not.
Who is it?
It starts with a T.
Oh yeah, I can't believe it's Tableau.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
Tableau.
Yeah. Carl's like, before I said it, he came in with tab.
Exactly.
It's the tab. Exactly. Finish the word. It's just the tab. Yeah,
right.
Tableau.
Right. They call themselves the data fam. I mean, come on, folks.
Yeah.
It's obviously Tableau, right? And other tools have various levels of community engagement, but only one has come up with a nickname for themselves. Well, no, Cognos people called themselves Cognoids.
Oh yeah.
So, maybe that's, I sometimes used to make a joke that Cognos Power Play was the Tableau of 1997. But DC here says, I'm a Power BI user and feel the Copilot pain. It would be a game changer if it did anything like the Microsoft demos. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's part of our review. Are the AI features they advertise actually any good?
Right.
Literally the only AI tool I've ever used that like the features were as good as they said has been OpenAI. where it's like, oh, this is way better than I thought it was going to be. That's it. Other ones have had some nice stuff, but like OpenAI is the only one that's like, oh, you meant what you said.
Yeah. All right. So 2 more things. I think we're going to wrap up pretty much on time here. Yeah. The last 2 things are, does it have a future?
Yeah.
And are you vendor locked? And these people might wonder why these are one question, but obviously they're very closely related.
Yes.
Because if it doesn't have a future and you are vendor locked, that's quite a problem.
That's a very big problem. If it has no future and those skills carry over, right, then it's good. Or, if it doesn't have if like they retire the tool and like at some level or stop giving support and like all of your reports are in that and you don't have any modeling done anywhere else, then it's like, then you also have a problem.
And I will tell you, the way we address this at Good Data to try and make it friendly for customers is, we've been around for 17 years, but about 5 years ago, we rebuilt the tool from scratch. And when we did it on open source technology. So like if you're materializing data in Good Data, you're doing it in Apache Arrow files. Yep. And if you want to ditch us and take your Arrow files somewhere else, you can.
Yep. That's like, I'm thinking with Apache Superset, right? The review, it's like, it's open source. So if it gets totally abandoned, if you're a big enough company and you just need to keep it going, you could just maintain it yourself. Yep. You could fork and maintain.
Yep.
Right. And it's open source. So like, it's never going to die probably. But yeah. And then also like, they don't really have a semantic layer, but, they like, if you want a semantic layer, here are some other open source semantic layers, like in the documentation, I think points it out. Or maybe I was looking at the QuickSight documentation. I don't remember.
Hey, check these ones out.
It's like, hey, we support these. Superset supports these open source independent semantic layers. So that's one other thing I'm looking at, right? I think maybe at some point we should do a show like, I mean, this would take probably 2 months of pre-work, but your complete, full-featured, open source enterprise BI stack.
Yeah. That would be pretty interesting.
It'd take months of work to put that together, but at the end, it'd be super cool.
And the final category is cost.
So
that's easy to understand. Is it expensive? How do you license it? Et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. Big plus for open source right there.
I do want to close with this comment that David dropped much earlier on, and I wanted to save it for the end. It's what's the one thing you won't need in a BI platform anymore in 2025? And
that's a good question.
I don't think it's, I don't necessarily think it's in 2025, but one of my predictions about what you're not going to need in a BI platform in the future is the BI platform. And really what I mean is the BI front end that end users are going to be expected to have bookmarked and log into and go and sift through the reports, the report folder structure to find, the sales attainment monthly by quarter V2 Ryan report to get like that. I think is gonna go away, and it's going to be replaced by a combination of AI interfaces and embeddings into other applications. It's not going to go away entirely.
Yeah,
but I think it's going to become less and less important over time.
Yeah, I think maybe it's a stepping stone is like the self-service dashboard builder. will be maybe be either replaced with straight up a chatbot or a chatbot dashboard builder.
Yeah.
Right?
A chat board.
Chatboard. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh. Copy trademark right now.
Yeah. Quick.
Chatboard.
Chat board.
The dash chat. The dash chat, baby.
Daniel says I would have gone for visuals. So that's interesting. As in like there will just be text responses.
Like just answers.
Yeah.
I feel like there will still be people will still want to put in their beautiful 3D pie charts. Oh, visuals done by AI.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Visual builder done by AI.
AI can already build charts as well as a human being. You know, I mean, it can't currently
use
do
ChatGPT. It'll use Python.
Right. And there's a lot of tiny things, you know, if you're a big company and you're like, we have these formatting guidelines and, you know, it needs to be 8 pixels from this to this. Like AI might struggle with that today, but today is short and the future is long.
Yeah.
All right, folks. So next week, reminder, same time, same place, Apache Superset review done by Eric. So I will be your avatar.
Yes.
He will be showing us Apache Superset. I will be asking the hard questions to figure out how good is this tool really. And I will be asking your questions. So show up and get your questions into the chat and I will ask them. And then the week after that, reminder, humanizing data, put on the other side so I don't block my light. Humanizing data strategy with Tiankai Feng. Super pumped for this. We got a link here in the chat. If you want to pick up your copy on Amazon, look it up. Read the book, come with questions. I predict this book is going to have a little moment right now. This is the right topic at the right time. So show up, folks, with your questions, and we will ask them to Tiankai. Check him out on LinkedIn. This is just a cool dude, by the way. He's like really cool. He's a classically trained musician. He makes fun piano songs about data. And he posts the videos on LinkedIn. He's awesome. I can't wait to have him on the show. So that's what we got coming up. Stay tuned every Thursday at 12 p.m. and available on demand at youtube.com/c/superdata brothers.
Here's a full list. Everyone wants to look at it at the end, you know, take a screenshot or whatever.
Yep.
You know.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, there's one more thing, Ryan.
Oh, what is it?
We have to, I believe this is today, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. The Detroit Low-Key Data Meetup, Ann Arbor edition.
Yeah.
Tonight, folks, join us. I actually won't be going there because I'm going to a wedding.
Gotcha.
But
I forgot about this. So I didn't plan on going, but I might go anyway.
Yeah, go.
Even if we don't go, this is very good to go to.
Yeah, please go. It's an awesome event. It's, the Detroit Low-Key Data Meetup. We do rotate it a little bit to hit up, because of the geography of the Metro Detroit region. Ann Arbor's an awesome town, home of the University of Michigan, many startups, Google office, lots of cool stuff. Join the Detroit data community at Union Rec tonight from 6 to 8 p.m. for a non-salesy gathering of data professionals. We cannot wait to see you there. Eric may see you there.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, cool. And with that, I think we've gone a little over. Thanks for sticking with us, folks.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Until next week, I am Ryan.
I am Eric.
And we are the Super Data Brothers. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.